Yeah, just gonna let some more people in. Okay, so in today's workshop, we're gonna cover some of the midterm questions that will be on next week. So the first one we're gonna go through is with Euler's method. And then the second question is gonna be solving initial value problems. The third one is about population. And then the fourth question is really the same. It's the initial value problem. And then question 5 is the one that I really want to focus on because it's about alcohol, and it's like pouring alcohol into a tank, but it's also leaking at the same time. And what's the equation to solve that? So that's question 5. And hopefully that's enough for this workshop. There are a total of 12 questions, and I will post this PDF on Discord announcement afterwards because this one has all of my work for the solution. Okay, so let's start with the first question. The session will be about an hour. So this question says, use Euler's method with h is equal to 0.25 to find the approximation of y2, where y of t is the solution to the initial value problem. And this is the y prime. This is the initial value, y1 is equal to 2, and we can round it to 4 decimals. So these are the formulas that you need to know. You can use x if you want, but in this case, the problem is using t, so that's why I replace it with a t. So the first thing we're going to do is find t at 1. So let's see. So t at 1 is equal to t at 0 plus h. T at 0 is 1, okay, and that comes from this right here. So we know that t at 0, which is 1, so t at 0 is equal to 1. And then h is going to be 0.25. So plus 0.25, and we get 1.25. And an advice that I think is important is whenever you find a value, you should write it down to the side. So t1 is equal to, this is t0 is equal to 1, y0 is equal to 2, then t1, which we just found, is equal to 1.25. How about y at 1? Well, from the formula, y1 is equal to y0 plus h, and h is, let's just write h for now, and then f t0 y0, and y0, as we found, is 2, plus 0.25 times f t0 y0. And now we have to find this. So t0 is 1, and then that's 2. We plug it into this formula here, and we get 1 to the power of 3 times 2. That gives us 1 over 2. That's 2 plus 1 over 4 times 1 over 2. 2 plus 1 over 8. That's 17 over 8. And you can plug it into a calculator, and since they told you to round to 4 decimals, you can say 2.125. So this is y1 is equal to 2.125. And if I'm going too fast, please let me know. And also, you can feel free to turn on your mic and ask me if you have any questions. Okay, the next one is t2. So t2 is equal to t1 plus h. t1 is 1.25. h is 0.25. So we get 1.5. So t2 is equal to 1.5. Okay, I see one question in the chat. Why don't we need the integral of y prime? Well, we do need it. We do need it. Okay, and you'll see in a second when we use it. Now, how about y2? Well, y2 is equal to y1 plus h times f at t1 y1, and that comes from this formula right here. So y1, from this fact, we get 2.125 plus h is 0.25 times f t1 y1. Now we have to find this, and we're going to use y prime. The recording will be posted on the Discord announcement. So we have to find this, and we're finding this using y prime, if that answers your question. So y prime is this, and in the textbook they use this, but this is essentially y prime. Now we need to plug t and y into here, so we get 1.25 to the power 3 times 2.125. Okay. And let me save you some work. This will be approximately this value. So y2 will be approximately this value, and I rounded to 4 decimals. Yeah, it seems like someone's mic is on. If you could turn off your mic, thank you. Unless you have a question. Yeah, so you keep using that formula. It's really the same thing. You just use it over and over and over until you get to t is equal to 2, right? Because that's what they're asking for. They ask you to find until y at 2. So let me write out. So t3 is equal to 1.75, and this is equal to 2.2191. And then when you get to t is equal to 2, this is when you stop. So this is y4 is equal to 2.2401. So therefore, we can use this symbol. Therefore, the answer, y at 2, is approximately 2.2401. Okay, are there any questions? No questions. Okay, we'll move on to the next problem. If you guys need to write this down, don't worry, I'll post it on Discord later. And also, there's a formula sheet here, which I already posted on Discord as well. But it summarizes all the formulas that you need. So the formula we just use is on the second page here. Oops, let me take the screenshot again. We have to solve the initial value problem. Y prime is equal to y to the power of 2 cos t, where y at 0 is equal to 1. So let's write that out. We have y prime is equal to y to the power of 2 cos t, where y at 0 is equal to 1. So this is the same as dy over dt is equal to y to the power of 2 cos t. Then we can multiply both sides by dt. We get dy is equal to y to the power of 2 cos t dt. And we have to divide both sides by y to the power of 2. And I'll explain why we have to do this in a second. So we divide both sides, we get this. And the reason why we divide it is that we want to get all the y's and all the t's to one side, right? Instead of writing this, I'll rewrite it as y to the power of minus 2 dy is equal to cos t dt. And then we have to integrate this. So continuing on over here, this is y to the power of minus 1 over minus 1 is equal to, oh, and by the way, if you integrate from one side, you got to integrate the other side as well. So the other side will be sine t plus c. We multiply both sides by -1, we get this. So you can see here that I put the minus c, right? The minus c. But remember, c is just a constant. It's a number that we don't really care about. So we can write it as plus c, okay? Because it doesn't matter. Like for c, it can be plus, it can be minus, it doesn't matter. But if you like it as a minus sign, then it's fine, okay? Now this is the same as 1 over y is equal to minus sine t minus c. And are we good so far? Can I erase this part over here? Since y at 0 is equal to 1, we plug t is equal to 0 in, right? So we get 1 over y is equal to minus sine 0 plus c, or minus c rather, it's really the same thing. So we get, since y is equal to 1 here, the value of y is 1, then this would just be 1 divided by 1, which is just 1, right? So we get 1 is equal to 0 plus or minus c, then 1 is equal to minus c, then c is equal to minus 1. Okay, so we're gonna substitute this back into our equation. So substituting this back into here, we are going to get 1 over y is equal to negative sine t minus 1. 1 over y is equal to minus sine t plus 1. So we multiply both sides by y, we get 1 is equal to minus sine t plus 1 times y. And we're almost done. So now we divide both sides by this to get y. So y is equal to 1 over minus sine t plus 1. And instead of writing like this, you can also write it as, let's see, you can write it as 1 over 1 minus sine t. And that's it. This is the solution to this problem. Are we good? Can we move on to the next problem? Okay, let's move on to the next problem. The next one is about population. Yeah, so there's a question in the chat and it says, where is the cheat sheet? I'll just show you very quickly. So if you go here and you scroll up, you can see this is my formula cheat sheet. And I'll also post the recording down here later on. So if you don't have this Discord, I'll paste it in the chat. Okay. Now this problem says, the population of a certain species of fish in a lake is currently estimated as 20,000. 3 years ago, the population was 18,000. Assume that the population is growing according to the exponential model. So the exponential model, there's a formula for that. So let's say we know that right now, we get 20,000 fish. 3 years ago, it was 18,000. And we have to use the exponential model. So where is this formula? Where does that formula come from? Well, it comes from down here. That's going to be the first one. So we have PT is equal to PO EKT. So PO is the number of fish at the moment, so the now. That's PO. We have to find K. If you want to get the formula, you need to find K. So we know that 3 years ago, we have 18,000 fish. So this will be 18,000 because that's the number of fish 3 years ago. We divide both sides by 20,000. And we're going to do the ln of both sides. So after you solve this or plug it into a calculator, you're going to get 0.9. Oh, actually, before we do that, this divided by that is 0.9. Yeah, so this is 0.9. And then when you solve this, you're just going to get negative 3k. So k is just this divided by negative 3. Now we found k, we need to plug it back into our formula. Now the first question, so we found a formula, and the first question says, what would be the population in 10 years? So what's the population in 10 years? That would be P at 10 in 10 years. And if you plug that into a calculator, you will get 28,415 fish. So this is for question A. Now let's take a look at question B. So question B says, how many years ago was the population 15,000? Okay. That's basically saying we have to find t, where the value of t put into here will give you 15,000. So using this formula, we can just replace that value with this. We divide both sides by 20,000. So this divided by 20,000. Oh, this is 9, by the way. I wrote the wrong number. So this is 9. This right here is 9. Divided by negative 3 times t. So this right here, that is 0.75. 0.75. Then we take the ln on both sides. Okay, so are we good with this one? I'm gonna erase this one for more space. So if we multiply both sides by the reciprocal of this, we get t is equal to -3 over the ln of 0.9 times the ln of 0.75. And if you put that into a calculator, you get -8.19136 something. And you should round it. So you round it down, so -8.2. And the answer is, this means that the population, so about 8 years ago, the population was 15,000. And that's the answer for question B. Now, question C says, find the doubling time TD. Let me copy that.
What does mean doubling time?
So let's see. The doubling time, basically what it means is you have here 20,000, right? So what happens when you double it? You get 40,000. And this says we find the doubling time. So basically that's basically saying that PT is equal to this number and we have to find T. Basically all that means is you double the initial population and then you find T. That's all it's saying. So this can be considered as TD, but let's just say T for now. Yeah, so in the chat, it is just 20,000 times 2. Now, all we have to do is solve for this. We divide both sides by 20,000. And then we take the ln on both sides. And we are going to round it down. So therefore, the time that it takes to double the population is 19.7 years, about 19 years. Okay, are we ready to move on? Okay, the next question, question 4. Let's see, where's question 4? Is the same thing, just solving the initial problem. We can rewrite this as dy over, let's say dx this time, instead of dt. Now we divide both sides by 4 minus y to the power of 2. And now we are going to integrate both sides. So you notice that the x and the y's are on one side now. So let me rewrite this here. Okay. Let's solve for this. Now, using partial fractions, this is the same as 1 over 2 plus y, 2 minus y. And this is the same as a over 2 plus y plus b over 2 minus y. So we multiply both sides by the common denominator. So we have to solve for a and b. So if y is equal to 2, so you can pick any number here, but why did I pick 2? Because if you plug 2 into here, the a would disappear and then you can find b. We get 1 is equal to a times 0 plus b times 4 . And then I'm gonna pick if y is equal to minus 2. So when y is minus 2, this will become 0. Oh, actually, this right here should be a 4. That's a 4. And because of that, down here it's a 4 too. This is 4a. So it turns out that both a and b are the same. It's 1 over 4. So are we good? I'm gonna erase this. We had a over 2 plus y plus b over 2 minus y. And because both a and b are 1 over 4, we can just substitute these values. So instead of writing 1 over 4, I'm going to write 0.25. Now we want to integrate this, right? That's our goal. We want to integrate it. So we're going to get we can split it apart. And then since 0.25 is just a constant, we can move it outside. So we were here and then we found this. So I'm just gonna move this one up here. This is 0.25. And have you guys finished copying down? I'm gonna start erasing all of this. Now let's solve for this one. We say let u equal to 2 plus y. So we differentiate both sides, du over dy is equal to 1, then du is equal to dy. This is the same as ln of u plus c. We replace it, so we get 2 plus y plus c. And now how about this one here? We say let u is equal to 2 minus y, du over dy is equal to minus 1. Then du is equal to negative dy. So dy is equal to negative du. Okay, so after we differentiate it, we should put it back into our formula. So we have this, we're gonna replace it into there. Okay, so can I erase this? All of this down here, I'm gonna start erasing it. Okay, so now here we finished finding the integral of 1 over 4 minus y squared dy. And remember, this was our formula that we still haven't solved for. Okay, remember, we still have this one up here. So what we need to do is plug this and replace it with this one. So this comes from the fact that ln A minus ln B is equal to ln A over B. Don't forget that. Now we're going to multiply both sides by 4. And then in order to solve for y, right, because we want to solve for y, we have to do both sides to the power of e. And that will simply give us and then instead of writing like this, because remember, if you have something like this, you can split it out. You can split this into that, right? So okay, are we good? I'm gonna start erasing from up here. Now the next step is we want to solve for this because now we have two variables. We have a y and we have a c, but we want to solve for y. So there's a way, there's something we gotta do to get rid of the c here, and let me show you how to do that. So all we have to do is abstract this. We can say let k equal to e to the power of 4c, where k is larger than 0. And why is k larger than 0? Because if we don't do this, then this can be a positive number or a negative number, right? So basically, if you have something like this, you can say that this can be -2 or 2. But here we want a positive number. We don't want it to be a negative number. It just simplifies things a lot for us. Just say it's a positive number. So because k is a positive number, we can write this as 2 plus y over 2 minus y is equal to k times e to the power of 4x. And now, since y of 0 is equal to 3, and that comes from here, comes from this fact right here, then we have to substitute it in. So we get 2 plus 3 over 2 minus 3. That's equal to k times e to the power of 4 times 0. Now here we get 5 over minus 1 is equal to k times e to the power of 0. So k is minus 5. And all we have to do is substitute it back into here in order to solve for y. We multiply both sides by 2 over minus y. So we get 2 plus y is equal to minus 5 times e to the power of 4x times 2 minus y. Okay, I find that this is one of the easy tricks to solve for y. Just multiply both sides. And then we're going to factor things out. So 2 plus y is equal to, we take this, multiply by this multiply by that. Okay, so we get 2 plus y is equal to negative 10 e to the power of 4x plus 5 e to the power of 4x y. And now we want to move all the y's to one side, right? So we get 2 plus y minus 5e to the power of 4xy. That's equal to negative 10 e to the power of 4x. And now we can move this 2 over here. So we can have all the y's to one side. And we're almost done. So are we okay if I erase all of this? I'm going to start erasing from this side. We factor out the y. We get y times 1 minus 5e to the power of 4x. That's equal to negative 10 e to the power of 4x minus 2. This is actually this. So all I'm doing is I'm just factoring out the 1 so we can make it look nicer. So y is equal to 10 2 over 5e to the power of 4x minus 1. So basically what just happened here is we cancel out the minus 1s. And that is our final answer. Are there any questions? No questions? Okay. The next one is a pretty important problem. It's about the alcohol pouring into a tank of water, and then the tank is also leaking. Oops, let's try again.
Are these questions in the Discord?
Can you repeat that, please?
So these questions that you take screenshot of, they are in the Discord or not?
I haven't posted them yet, but after this workshop I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll also post the solution too. So let's read through this. We have a vat. A vat doesn't matter what it looks like. We can just draw something like this, which is a box, with 500 gallons of beer that contains originally 4% of alcohol. So we have 500 gallons. And then 4% of it is alcohol. So beer with 6% is pumped into this vat at a rate of 5 gallons per minute. And the mixture is pumped out at the same rate. So here, beer is entering. And it's 6%. And instead of writing 6%, I really recommend that you guys write this as 0.06 because you make less mistakes if you write it in a decimal form. And we know that they pump it in at 5 gallons per minute. And now what happens next? The mixture is pumped out at the same time, so some of it is also leaving. How much is it leaving? Well, why is it QT over 500? Well, let's define things here. We can say let QT be the amount of alcohol. The amount of alcohol. So Q prime T is the rate at which the alcohol is leaving, right? It's leaving. So QT is the amount of alcohol out of 500 gallons. Does that make sense? It's the amount of alcohol out of 500 gallons. So we don't know how much the amount of alcohol is. We can represent it as this fraction here. So this is the amount of alcohol that's leaving at 5 gallons per minute. And what else do they say? They say let QT be the amount of alcohol in the vat as a function of T. Perfect, we just did that right there. We have to construct an initial value problem that QT satisfies and solve this equation to find QT. Well, there's one more piece of information, which is what is the amount of alcohol at the start? When T is equal to 0, at the very beginning, what's the amount of alcohol? We can actually find this. So we know that we have 4% alcohol in 500 gallons. So what's the amount of alcohol? Well, that's just 500 times 4%, which gives you 20 gallons of alcohol. Okay, are there any questions so far before we actually solve this problem? Now, the formula that is very important to know is dq over dt is equal to rate in minus rate out. Now, that's the formula you need to know. Where rate in is equal to the concentration, or actually I'll just show you where this comes from. It just comes from the formula sheet in here. So where is that? That's basically here. You can just copy that in. So concentration in times the flow in, concentration out times flow out. That gives you a rate in and rate out. So the amount of concentration that's going in at the moment, right here, it's going in. What is that? Because we want to find this, right? So we know that the beer is entering, and we know that the amount of alcohol is 0.06. So that's why this is going to be 0.06. And what's the flow that's going in? What is the flow that's going in? Well, we know that it's going in at 5 gallons per minute. So times 5 gallons per minute. And I see there's a question in the chat. Perfect. Yeah, it's 5 gallons per minute. And if you multiply those together, you get 0.3. Now, the unit here doesn't really matter because writing the unit out doesn't really help us in this case. So what's the rate out? Well, let's see from the formula, what is the concentration that's going out? Well, we know that the concentration that's going out is this. That's the amount of alcohol over 500 gallons. So the concentration that's going out is this, times what's the rate that's going out? The rate flow out is also 5 gallons per minute. And you can see that I'm not writing the T here. So you can write it if you want, but I find that on the exam, if you want to save time, you can just say Q, and basically you know that's QT, but in your mind you just write Q, so you can save time. Okay, so we are ready to solve this equation. From this right here, we get 0.3 minus 0.01 Q. And now we multiply both sides by dt, we get this. And it's just a differential equation. So are we good with everything up here? I'm gonna start erasing things. Now we are going to integrate both sides. And before we do that, we want to have all the q's on one side. So we're going to divide both sides by this. Right, so we get 1 over 0.3 minus 0.01 q. This is dq. We get over here, it's just dt. And to solve for q, we have to integrate both sides. Now let's solve for this one. Let's solve this one. What's that gonna be? Well, let's see. We are gonna say let u be 0.3 minus 0.01 q. So du over dq is equal to negative 0.01. Then du is equal to negative 0.01 dq. So dq is equal to negative this over du. Oh, actually, what am I doing here? This is du over negative 0.01. Okay. Since this is a constant, we can move it to the front. And this is just the same as minus 100, if you realize that. That's just minus 100. And the antiderivative is going to be ln u plus c, and we need to substitute it back. So negative 100 ln times 0.3 minus 0.01 q plus c. Now we successfully integrated this. We should plug it back into here. And the c doesn't matter where it goes. You can put it on the side too. It's fine. Now over here, when we integrate it, we get t, right? We're going to get t. And we divide both sides by negative 100. Now, in order to solve this, we need to do both sides to the power of e. Now remember what I said before. We're going to generalize this into k. So let k is equal to e to the power c, and k is larger than 0. And why do we do this? Well, that's because we want to solve for q. That's what we want to solve. And here we have 3 variables. We have q, t, and c. So there's a way to simplify it, which is to make it k, and then we solve for k. Okay, and we're almost done. This is actually the last step. Only 4 more steps until we finish. So I'm going to erase everything up here. Since Q0 is 20 gallons, so we need to substitute in a variable in order to solve K. And in the beginning, if you remember, we found out that Q0 is 20 gallons. So substituting things in, we get this is equal to K times this over 100 times 0. This means that K is 0.3 minus 0.2, which is 0.1. So now we know that K is equal to 0.1. Now that we know K, we should substitute it back into this equation in order to find Q. Now we're going to bring the 0.3 over to this side. And then we multiply both sides by -1 to get rid of this minus sign here. And the last thing is we divide both sides by this. Okay, and that's it. Are there any questions? Actually, I want to double check this value here. Oh, I want to double check this. I know that this one's correct, but this one seems a little bit suspicious. So we're going to divide both sides. And we get, this is 1 over 0.01 times negative this. Let's see in the chat, do we not multiply 0.1 e? Yeah, that's what I'm doing here. So this is 100. right? That's 100, and we get this. And then this times this is just minus 10. I'm pretty sure it's minus 10. And this would give you 30. So this turns out to be a 10. So there's a typo in the solution, but this will be a 10. Okay, so that's it. That's it for question number 5. So it's been an hour, and I shouldn't go over the time for the workshop. So all I'm gonna say is, for questions number 6, for question number 6 until question number 12, I believe that 13 is the last question. I have already done all the work down here, and you can just go through the solution on your own, and it's actually quite easy. So let's take a look at question number 12. You want to find the value of x where it's absolutely convergent, right? And if you look in the formula sheet, you can find it. You can find that formula for the convergence here. So you can see these are the steps. If you want to find the interval of convergence, you have to do the ratio test first. So that's what I did over here. The ratio test, and then just all of this, and then you get this. And then you just keep doing, you use this formula. So that's what I did. I used this formula right here. And then I just keep solving for x, and then finally I get the answer. So I'll post all of this in the Discord, and that's pretty much it for today's workshop. If there are any questions, the floor is now yours.
Recording stopped.
Okay, thank you so much for coming, guys.
Thank you.